Alright, so I'm making a makeshift boost leak tester. Well, I already made it, and I'm going to show you how I did it, and everything you're going to need to make one yourself at home. So let's get right into it. So basically, here it is in a nutshell. Just got a fitting from Home Depot, a little cap from Home Depot, a 1/4 inch MPT nipple from AutoZone, vacuum caps. You're going to need a couple vacuum caps, 3/8 and a 1/2 inch. So I'll show you where I had to block off all the ports to get an accurate reading on the pressure. This is the Perrin turbo inlet, so if you have a stock setup, it's obviously going to be a little different than mine, so just keep that in mind. So I'm going to take off this first little section here and show you what I used. The diameter of my air inlet is like 2 3/4, and the fitting that I got is only 2 inches. But to make up the difference, I used basically a bunch of layers of duct tape to kind of make it snug. That way the hose clamp can tighten it all up and be airtight. So this is my setup right here. Pretty fancy, huh? So I used, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 inch of duct tape on there to kind of make up the difference to fit into my 2 3/4 inlet. So it's still a little loose, but once I get it clamped down with the hose clamp, it seemed to hold the pressure okay. Preferably I just needed like a cap, so I didn't have to do this other additional adapter. But I couldn't find one, so I just ended up doing this piece with the cap screwed in. PTFE tape, and then I got the 1/4 MPT nipple with PTFE tape as well. Kind of keep everything airtight. So you're also going to need an assortment of these vacuum caps. I needed, I think, 2 3/8, one for this nipple, one for this nipple, and then also a 1/2 inch one for this bigger one back here. I just had a cap onto that one that plugs into the PCV hose. You're going to want to actually take off this vent line as well that goes to the crankcase. So yeah, I pulled off the hose, put a bolt in there, just big enough so it's still airtight. So I'll link everything down below and all the information needed, all the materials used, I'll link down below to kind of get you guys on the right track if you want to do this at home for yourself. If you didn't want to buy the $80, professional test kit. So you're obviously going to need some type of compressed air as well with a regulator to properly do this without doing any damage. So that's what I got over there. Got the big compressor with the regulator on there. Preferably you would want a regulator kind of like here. That way it's more accurate when you're monitoring what PSI is going into the intake. But I got by with just doing it with mine, just being careful not to just load a bunch of pressure into there. That's another reason why we undo this from the PCV system. That way anything that pressurizes can kind of just come out of there. And you're not going to just pressurize the crankcase and blow any important seals or whatnot. So yeah, just got this thing clamped back in there. I'm going to feed some pressure into the regulator. I'm not going to do much. I'm going to do maybe 5 to 8 pounds and see where I found any leaks. And boy, did I find a leak. Here goes. We got the regulator set to about 10 psi. So I'm going to go on ahead and connect it to the nipple here. Okay, we're connected. Now we just basically go on ahead and listen for any air coming out. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not, but we have a massive leak at the bypass valve. So what helps to kind of troubleshoot is to get some soapy water, little dish soap and water here. I'm gonna start spraying it around and see where we get some bubbles. Oof, big old leak there. Big leak. Let's see, anything around here? Not quite anything there, but definitely around this gasket here. Bypass valve to the intercooler. Quite a big boost leak there. Not good, not good at all. Bubbles. No other action going on. Definitely up here. So it looks like I'm going to need to order a new gasket for the bypass valve to the intercooler, which is weird because I ordered a new one of those and put it on, I want to say, less than a year ago. But this thing has already gone to crap, or it's not tightened down all the way. I'm going to have to do some investigating. But if that's the only boost leak that I have, that's pretty easy to take care of. But that's pretty much it on the boost leak tester, the DIY boost leak tester. Pretty simple, pretty quick to do. Just got to be careful not to pump too much air in there. You don't want to do any damage internally. But I think that's going to conclude this quick little DIY boost leak test. I'm going to go on ahead and see if I can tighten any of these bolts here. possibly just check the gasket out. Maybe it's not seated right. It ain't a 10, that's a 12. 12 millimeter Peter here. Let's see if we can just crank it. It's already tight. Like I said, at least it's an easy area to kind of fix. It's not like some hidden area down beneath the layers of a Subaru or EJ25. So I kind of lucked out there where it's going to be pretty easy to fix. What? I don't even have that there. Are you kidding me? What happened to that? What? Okay, well, that's not going to help anything. Totally missing that other gasket here. Goes onto the intercooler. It's completely missing. What the heck? Well, it looks like I gotta order a new one. So this is a basic rundown of what you're gonna need to purchase. I guess you don't need everything you see here, but an assortment of drill bits in order to drill into the cap here. What I do, I think I did 5/16 to 3/8 and then to 1/2 inch. It's the perfect diameter hole to start threading in your 1/4 inch MPT. So I just started, easing it in real slow with my 9/16 wrench here. Just worked it all the way down. Of course, I put some PTF tape on there just to kind of prevent any air leaks, which seemed to do the trick. I made sure to put the same tape on the threads for the cap. Got that nice and tight. I happen to have a nice 1.25" wrench here. Fit perfectly on the hex here, on the square. And there were no leaks, and you're going to need quite a bit of duct tape, or just try to find a fitting that'll be a direct fit for your intake diameter. So that's pretty much it for this quick little DIY boost leak tester. Do it yourself in the garage. I think I'm going to get that gasket, do a test drive after this, and see how it feels. So stay tuned for that. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get a gasket anytime soon. It's going to be probably like a week or so. So what I'm going to be doing and attempting is to use, I'm using my Harley primary cover gasket, an extra one I had laying around. It's going to be a little small though, as far as it like popping out at all, to get a nice seal on it. See, it's kind of recessed in there. I'm sure this is going to be better than nothing. I'm hoping, at least to get me by for the next week or so. Okay, well, after pressure testing the little, the primary cover gasket that I was trying to use, I actually ended up I used an upper rocker box gasket for my Harley, and I literally put it into the slot, fed it in all around, nice and even, cut it to size, and then I just kind of sandwiched it together evenly with the bolts, and we are actually holding boost now. I hooked up the pressure tester and we weren't getting any air bubbles or nothing out of here. So that'll at least get me by until the real gasket comes. So I'm going to put everything back together and go for a test drive and see if I get any boost back. So I guess this would be a good time to show you guys exactly what I did, but just in reverse order when I go to put everything back together. I'm going to remove all of the vacuum caps and put back the intake and the hoses that are off. I'll show you where they go. So it'll be kind of like a reverse order of what you need to do, because I kind of jumped the gun and already did it before I decided, I'm going to make a video on this to help out some other Subarus, see if they can do their own, boost leak testing. Let's go ahead and get started putting this thing back together. Obviously, I'm going to start with this, removing my makeshift boost tester. That cannot stay. That's got to go. I will set this aside for future diagnosing, future boost leak issues along the road. I'm going to go on ahead and remove my 1/2 inch vacuum cap here. It's part of the PCV connection here. If you have the parent intake, yours will also be a 1/2 inch. But here's my little 1/2 inch vacuum cap. I think they called this radiator bypass cap. So that's where I found it in the section of AutoZone. Just going to connect the little white connector, which will reconnect to the pipe. Like so. Next, we're going to reconnect our other PCV hose here, one that goes right to the intercooler, or it's actually just attached. The hard piping is attached to the intercooler. So this is where I shoved in that bolt. This is the hose that came with the parent inlet. I literally just used like an old lug stud that I pulled off the car a while back. So that seemed to work fine. It was nice and snug on the splines. was a pretty good tight fit, so that worked for me. This one's not crucial to holding boost. This is just a vent, but I just needed to block it off for testing purposes. Next one's gonna be over here, hidden underneath that larva wire. It's a big old harness here. This one comes off that little purge valve here. It's gonna go right into there. Got my 3/8 cap on there. Hopefully I can get that off without a hassle. See if I can gently persuade it off with some channel locks. Oh, come on, you little bastard. You little rat bastard. There we go. 3/8 cap is off. This guy's gonna loop around and connect right to it. I do need, oh man, I bet you this is leaking too. It's not really too tight here. You can just like slide that off with no problem. So that may be another little boost leak area. Loop this guy around. Put a little gentle persuasion lube on there. A little spit will do the job. Usually. Okay, that's nice and tight. Feeling good, feeling alright. Yeah. Well, I ended up having some extra hose here. Got some 4mm hose. So I'm just gonna redo this little hose here that I have. Had this on there for years. Just gonna swap it out with some other hose. This is way stretched out. This is nice and flexible and it'll fit right over that little nipple, or both of these nipples here. They measure to about 4.5mm. It's about 5mm ID on this hose here. Nice. And then I'm gonna swing it around, try to get it directly connected to this. If this thing comes off, you have a big vacuum leak. Ask me how I know. There we go. That looks good, nice and clean. Okay, so we upgraded that little hose. Just need a little revamp there. Onto the next nipple coming off of the turbo inlet. Ooh, dang, that was already broken. I wonder if that was an old plug that I had, because I did purchase new ones for this job. So yeah, this must have been an old one that I already had because it just kind of crumbled off. So this will connect to the tube that comes off of your boost controller. I have the Cobb tuning boost controller. So again, my setup may be different than yours, but this guy's just gonna go connect right here. This other end goes to the boost controller. So I'll pop that guy on. Nice snug fit. Alright. Cool, we're looking good. We're almost back to where we started here. That's on, that's on. This is back on there. We're in good shape. We gotta just put the intake on. Since I have the parent inlet, I have to add this little adapter. Basically allows you to link up the parent inlet with your factory inlet hose and have a nice male-to-male connection. Man, I need to spit on it to get it in here. Jesus. There we go. That goes on there. Cool beans. Everyone's seen me put back my intake before. There's not really much to it. I took this opportunity to go on ahead and clean my Cobb SF intake. So we got that nice and clean. It's a little tweaked. It's a little tweaked, but you know, so does the job. Talk about the dedication. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Just like that, we're back together. One last piece. The lid to the intake box. The SF intake and air box. The official carb legal Cobb SF intake and air box. Okay, we're all buttoned up. We're ready to go for a little test drive. See if our temporary gasket's gonna work for us. And I'm not gonna take it back apart if it's not working. I'm just gonna suck it up and live with it until the real thing comes. I'm really hoping it's gonna get me by for a little bit. Oops. Can't forget this, can't forget that. Okay, I think we got our shit together now. Start her up. See if everything seems normal. So far, everything's nominal. Nominal. Any oil? We do got one drip of oil down here. One drip of lousy oil. Right there. hook it onto the header. Okay, that's where the smoke's coming from. I don't know if it's my valve cover. Hard to say without jacking up the car and really getting a good look at it. We may just lose a couple drops of oil along the way. We'll dig deeper into it. But like I said, it's gonna be a different issue for a different day. Okay, well I got a good view of some oil down here. See if I can find it. There's the smoke. I want to say it's my valve cover. Definitely a lot of action going on there. Valve cover gaskets may be coming up next on the list. Alright, at least I know kind of what's going on. First, to check my oil before I go. That'd be a good idea. Alright, how much oil are we losing here? We're about halfway. Half full or half empty. Depends on how you look at it, but I'm going to say it's half empty. So I'm going to add about a half a quart, because that's about all I have left. Platinum high mileage. But yeah, definitely have to address that oil leak that's going on. One thing after another. But it's just general maintenance that you need to keep up on, or else these kind of things will start to happen. And I'm a living example of that.